You are reading By the Ballot, a Substack from the New South's new generation of Democrats, where we talk about stances, tactics, and news from the left. My name is Matt Royer. The age of the social media politician. Why certain candidates can hurt young people's chances at representation in the long run. The Democratic Party is at an inflection point. We have too many octogenarians in office and not nearly enough millennials or Gen Zers. For a party whose largest voting bloc consists of these two generations, you'd think we have more candidates who reflect that reality. We've seen young leaders break through and lead effectively on the national stage. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Senator Jon Ossoff, Representative Maxwell Frost, Representative Greg Casar, Representative Summer Lee, to name a few. But not all young candidates are ready to lead, and their behavior on the campaign trail can actively damage how young people are perceived in politics. Older generations already expect us to act entitled, arrogant, or out of touch. So when a candidate lives up to that stereotype, it doesn't just affect them, it sets youth representation back. A few weeks ago, Garrett Redling and I wrote, "Our party has to learn. Going viral doesn't make someone an effective messenger or strategist. We need candidates who do more than look good on paper or deliver the right buzzwords. We need people who aren't just climbing to the next rung or chasing another title. We need leaders who are authentic and actually do the work, not just post like they are." A candidate's viability isn't about their identity, how they look, how old they are, or where they're from. It's about how they lead, how they treat people, what they stand for, and whether they show up with integrity. That goes double for candidates. And no campaign illustrates this more than Deja Fox's recent run for Congress in Arizona's 7th Congressional District. What looks good on paper doesn't always play in real life. I first saw Deja Fox speak at the 2024 DNC convention in Chicago, from the content creator stage no less, directly in front of the Virginia delegation. Her remarks focused on why we needed to elect Kamala Harris to fight for young people, and while I agreed with the goal, the speech felt oddly detached. It seemed like we were just supposed to already know who she was. And for someone billed as a youth voice, it would have been nice to hear more of her own story and substance. And speaking of authenticity, it was hard not to notice she spoke while standing right next to Aaron Parnas, a figure who's faced criticism for rebranding others' work as his own. When I looked up Deja, her resume was impressive. Columbia graduate, abortion rights organizer in Arizona, service in the office of the vice president, a major social media following. On paper, she had it all. So her decision to run for the seat formerly held by late Rep. Raul Grijalva wasn't surprising. But as we've said before, paper only goes so far. When rubber meets the road, authenticity, clarity, and follow-through matter most. Fox is far from the only young candidate to run into these issues. She's just the most recent. And if we want youth candidates to succeed in the long term, we need to learn from her missteps. Saying a lot without saying anything. Everyone loves a good underdog story. Rising from poverty to the national stage, that's compelling. But if that's all you talk about without connecting it to specific policy or a clear agenda, it feels hollow. In this clip of Fox seemingly doing her best Kamala Harris impression with sympathetic affect in her speech, furrowed brow, and nodding to emphasize a point, Fox delivers a moving personal story and declares Arizonans deserve a fighter. But how? What policies will she champion? What's her legislative vision? What kind of fighter is she? Voters can tell when a candidate doesn't have a plan, or worse, when they're avoiding policy to dodge criticism. When everything sounds poll-tested, sanitized, and consultant-approved, people tune out. Don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Your private life is yours, but if your public rhetoric doesn't align with what you post, people notice. Fox talked about how she and her generation are struggling financially because of current leadership, while also posting about the Prada show and fine dining in Milan. No one's saying she has to live like a monk to be relatable, but when the message and the image don't match, it undermines your credibility. As critics have said about certain candidates, talk like Bernie, live like Hillary. It's not necessarily wrong or immoral, it just raises eyebrows when you criticize the system while mirroring its excesses. Personally, I know I come from privilege, but I'm honest about that, and my drive to serve comes from wanting everyone to have the same chances that I had. That's how we build trust, through honesty, not crafting a persona. Words matter, but actions matter more. Our generation is tired of politicians who promise the world and deliver crumbs. So when someone says, "I'm not a politician, I'm a fighter," we expect them to actually fight. But on election night, as Fox's defeat became likely, the facade cracked. She said she'd be available for hard questions, then dodged reporters. She said her campaign was bigger than herself and was about her supporters, but zoomed into her own watch party just a few feet away. She called for respect and unity, but refuse to concede immediately. If you can't follow through on the basics of your campaign, how will you follow through in office? How you treat your opponents and supporters matters. Losing sucks. I've been on those campaigns. But primaries are about more than one person. They're about the direction of the party, while general elections are about the direction of the district. So when a losing candidate refuses to concede or unify, it sends a damaging message. It calls back to State Senator Danica Roem after she beat former Republican delegate Bob Marshall, who spent the entirety of his campaign maligning her, misgendering her, and using transphobic tropes to hurt her candidacy. You would expect her to be viscerally angry and lash out against him and those who supported him. But Danica Roem had only the classiest response. I don't attack my constituents, and Bob Marshall is my constituent now. What's worse is when you don't do that for your own people. Fox zooming into her watch party instead of immediately addressing the people who knocked doors for her was a bad look. Even if she later showed up, the moment was tainted. These people sacrificed for her. They deserved better. Authenticity isn't about perfection. It's about being real, showing up, and treating people with respect, win or lose. The stakes are bigger than one race. Deja Fox ran against the old guard. That's admirable. But when you reinforce the stereotypes older generations hold about us that we're self-centered, performative, and unserious, it doesn't just hurt your campaign, it hurts all of us. It opens us up to criticism like Adelita Grijalva lodged. This campaign is about the importance of giving voice to this community. It was not about an individual. It was not about social media likes. It was about knocking on doors face-to-face with community members. A clear call out and shutdown of Fox's campaign. This isn't a hit piece. It's not dancing on the grave of a failed campaign. It's a plea. A call to every young person under 35 who wants to run for office. Learn from this. I believe Deja Fox still has the potential to be a great candidate and leader, but something got in the way, and we have to rise above that. We have to be better. We have to be more than the online version of ourselves. We have to be prepared, authentic, and real. We have to give straight answers to hard questions. We have to lead, even in defeat. Because if we don't, we'll continue to be locked out of the rooms where change happens, and progress can't afford to wait. Thank you for reading By the Ballot. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe so we can continue to grow our audience.